So a really warm welcome to Simeon Vasilev from the GLAS Foundation. You're a Bulgarian NGO that advocates for acceptance of LGBTQ plus people in Bulgaria and their full integration into Bulgarian society. Welcome to Zooming In on Hate.
Thanks for having me.
So can you walk us through the most significant changes introduced in the 2023 amendment to the Bulgarian Criminal Code related to hate crime? And what do these changes mean in practice, and what are you seeing in your community?
It was a very long fight, as you're probably aware. It really took us nearly 20 years and many different institutions, organizations, advocates and activists fought for it. The great thing was that despite the constant election cycle that Bulgaria had during that time, we ran something like 9 elections between 2022 and 2025. Despite that, we managed to find the right political balance, I should say, and desire for that amendment to happen finally. And it's been, you cannot even imagine, I cannot start to comprehend the level of reports, campaigns, advocating, meetings, you name it, so many different activities and efforts to really change that that article in the penal code, basically, because the penal code, the criminal code, already had provisions against hate crime, but it did not include LGBTI people. So our fight was to change it and, of course, to add that. And we worked with a great team of lawyers and professionals from various organizations, not just GLAS, it's the right to say. But we used the moment to grasp the moment finally make it happen. And we were worried that because in the Bulgarian parliament, it has to go through 2 readings in a commission, then it has to go into the plenary, and then they need to discuss it. And there are all these different occasions where this get in the basket, in the rubbish bin. But luckily for us, it all went greatly through. Again, it was the right moment where the political parties were predominantly pro-European, liberal, democratic. I say that maybe now it's a little bit different, but back then, really for 2 years, society changed. But it was great that they saw the need in that. They saw the need in that. And what really happened, we added the sexual orientation as an aggravated circumstance in the penal code. We could not, I should admit, it's our we didn't succeed adding the gender identity in the penal code because it's a term that it's not just misunderstood in Bulgaria, it's largely used by the conservative far-right circles as a propaganda topic, as a propaganda ghost, basically. But now we have the sexual orientation finally in the penal code's provisions.
Excellent. And how did your community react? How did it?
It was a huge celebration. It was a huge celebration. I know that it's not the win that the community desires the most. That's definitely civil partnership or same-sex marriages. But it was a very important milestone in our work. Not only the community, our international partners, the European Commission, all our allies from across Europe and the world were actually very happy that this finally took an effect.
And did you feel it? Did you feel it in Bulgaria? Did it feel different after it was?
I felt the optimism. I felt the optimism, and when you're fighting something for that long, you lose hope, I should say. You lose hope, and sometimes you're like, we are never going to achieve it, and it's such a you cannot even comprehend how big it is, because you have to really put everything, the whole political machinery, the whole parliament structures, really to change that. So there were times when we were losing hope, I should say. But then I felt relief. I felt relief that finally we as an organization and we as a movement are living something so valuable. It's not just valuable, it's life-changing for people. because they should know that they are protected. But at the same time, our work is never done, and it's not done because we still need to work with the police forces actually whenever there is a homophobic, transphobic hate crime, for the police to report it as such, because this is a very crucial step that sometimes fails in the process.
And are you collaborating with law enforcement to try and get them to understand the situation a little bit more realistically?
Yes, we do. There GLAS, not to that extent. There are other organizations. We collaborate with the prosecutor's office. We did trainings for them as well. But there is definitely a need to invest further in actually using the full source of the penal code. At the same time, I hope that the homophobic hate crimes will not be happening all the time. Though in the last year alone, there were several very notorious cases of attacks on gay men.
So the legal reforms that you worked for 2 decades to achieve, I'd love to share with our listeners, what do you think were the key turning points or advocacy breakthroughs that made the update possible? So others can learn from how you managed it?
It's a great question. Persistent definitely was a key factor. As I mentioned, every year there was something that we were doing on LGBTI-phobic hate crimes, reporting website, an application, a campaign, a roundtable with the municipality, a law enforcement training. It was all the efforts that we were giving constantly, us as a movement, us as a whole. And as I mentioned, in such a long process, you inevitably will lose hope. But persistence is key, and and being really focused on the final goal. And of course, in our case, whatever we do, the politicians are the ones who are going to decide. So in that term, these 10 years were also very. We used it, especially GLAS used it to build long-lasting connections with governmental officials, with different institutions, so that we knew that when the right moment comes, we will use the opportunity. And it's a very long process. It definitely needs a lot of. I can give it as a tip. It needs a lot of time and investment, and of course, we don't have made it without the partnership, without the European Commission supporting us through numerous projects. But it's really finding the right moment. It's really using it to advocate, establish good connections with the key figures that are going to help you. I'm not just talking about government officials, actually, I'm talking about people supporting the cause, and use them. And everything is very fragile. We knew that we can lose everything in a minute, because the LGBTI community in Bulgaria has been scapegoated on numerous occasions. We've been really an object of disinformation and propaganda campaigns, of really the Russian playbook. And in that time, we managed in 2023. In 2024, we failed with the anti-LGBTI preschool and school education act, unfortunately. And that's why I very often say it's like one step forward and one step back when it comes to Bulgaria. But again, as a tip to my fellow organizations and activists, be persistent, build long-lasting connections. And I know that it's very hard sometimes to reach to those people, but you should be there. You should be at events. You should try to be invited to the table, not on the table. You really have to work hard, and don't lose hope, because it's a long process, and it requires optimism at the end.
Great words of encouragement.
Thank you.
So part of your work is working on campaigns and collecting hate crime reports.
Yeah.
And how have the criminal code changes affected your ability to generate accountability and action for the incidents that have taken place in Bulgaria?
We still continue that work. We still are working on collecting reports. our platforms for reporting anti-LGBTA, but also hate crimes are working. We are in the middle of actually launching another campaign where we want to again gather hate speech signals and reports, not only about anti-LGBTI rhetoric, but also about, in general, other minorities. This is something that we've been working very hard on, this intersectionality, that it's not only our fight, it's the fight of many other different minorities, and ultimately it's this fight about democracy, basically. And we heard it today at the event here that we are already living in a post-democracy society, and we have to figure out how to deal with that. So our efforts are ongoing. And as I mentioned, I have to be honest, it's not only roses and unicorns. I have to be honest that the weak link in our case is the police, and is the desire of the police really to label and to report those crimes as homophobic. So this is something that in the next year we definitely are going to work on, to find and to find ways to equip them. And that's the thing about it. We've invested so much effort into achieving this criminal change code amendment, and at a certain point you think that's it, we've achieved that, but you're not done, because then the work starts all over. It's again the reporting, again educating the community that this amendment is there, and that whenever there is a hate crime, they should ask the police to file it as a hate crime. So the work is ongoing for sure. Yeah.
And ultimately, you also have all the issues online as well, and how they feed into
Yes.
hate crime.
Yes.
Is your organization keeping an eye on what's happening online as well?
We are, but it's becoming more and more challenging, I should say, with the new restrictions on Meta, with the new platforms like TikTok. It's really becoming very difficult to observe all that is taking place. Luckily, I think the Bulgarian LGBTI community is well educated, so they are reporting or filing reports through our systems or reporting to us directly. Whenever there is a hate crime that it's public, we are also assisting the victims. So it's we're trying to monitor it, but I should say that it's a wild west in the online sphere, and it's very challenging to be as efficient as we should be. But on the positive side, we have this free psychotherapy support that we are offering to the LGBTI community, but not only to parents and allies of the community. And this is a tool that we are actively using to help people who are suffering online or are facing online hate. I should say that in my personal experience as an activist for the last 10 years, there have been quite surges when I was getting a lot of death threats for speaking up on TV and stuff like that. But in the last 2-3 years, it really went down. I hope that's maybe the effect of the law. I really hope that. But on a personal level, if I take this question personally, there's been a decline in hate speech. But I know that that's not the case for everyone. That's not the case for everyone.
But we'll end on that lovely positive note. So at least for you personally, you've seen a move in the right direction online. Simeon, it's been really great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us on Zooming In on Hate.
Thank you.